Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Charity Lawson reveals why she gave Brayden the night one rose and what she thinks about him talking about their kiss.
That's Brayden's personality, just someone who's very animated and just fun and lively for sure.
Plus, JoJo Fletcher says Charity is really torn on season 20 of The Bachelorette.
From what I know, her top couple guys, I think she was really torn between. But there was a lot left to go, so I'm curious to see how that plays out.
And Bachelor Happy Hour bids farewell as we recap the season 20 premiere. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi here with Us Weekly Deputy Editor Sarah Heron. And Sarah, we are back after a couple-month break, and it feels good that The Bachelorette is back.
I mean, a little tough that they moved the time slot to be 9 to 11. I don't know who that was for, but it did feel good to watch it. And I will say my big takeaway, not to jump ahead, is Charity's lovely.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. I have nothing bad to say about her at all. I think she is a class act and seems like she is looking for love. We're going to recap it all in just a second. But first, some big Bachelor news because Becca Kufrin announced that she will not be returning to the Bachelor Happy Hour amid speculation that the show has been canceled altogether. She said on Instagram, "I've actually received quite a bit of DMs regarding Happy Hour. It's obviously been a while since there's been any recordings or since I've even talked about it. It's just time for some different things, but I will forever be so grateful and thankful for all the fans and listeners out there." Now, she didn't directly address if she'd be back in any capacity or if there's different hosts. So we're not really sure yet. So they launched the Happy Hour podcast, back in the day with Rachel Lindsay, Ali Fedotowsky. This was in 2019. After they departed, Becca joined a little bit later on. Michelle Young was also a co-host. They've kind of been, cycling through a lot of the Bachelorettes. So the franchise has a bunch of different podcasts. Talking Out Loud, Clickbait, Brian Abasolo, Michael Johnson also had and Mike Johnson also had their Talking It Out podcast, but that is no longer there. So who knows if these Bachelor podcasts are going to be going forward. I mean, we have a great one Here for the Right Reasons that you should be listening to. That's Sarah host.
Thanks, Christina. That one is back, everyone. Yes. So go listen to that. We have not been canceled yet. Yes. No, I think what's so interesting about this is, in addition, I mean, especially Happy Hour, I think has been the most successful Bachelor Warner Brothers show. They obviously get all the guests. They're working with ABC. In our world, we have to do a lot of chatting with ABC and negotiation. It's not the same because they are under contract, and this would be a direct connection, right? So it made sense for them to be doing these. But there is a lot of podcasts, and I think it's an interesting sign for maybe the future of the franchise, because launching that BachelorNation.com, launching all these shows doesn't look great for the future. But then you have the Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise taking up 2 time slots in the fall. So it's kind of interesting to me. And I mean, Clickbait hasn't had a new episode since May. Happy Hour hasn't had a new episode since March. It's just old episodes resurfaced. Right. And they canceled Brian and Mike back in November. So also interesting that Becca just kind of slid this in there. We know she's getting ready to have her first child. Yeah. With Thomas. Doesn't really feel like that was an official announcement. Kind of confusing. We haven't heard from Joe. He's the last remaining Clickbait host standing as far as I know. So stay tuned on this, but interesting for what it could mean for the franchise.
Right. And I wonder if they're seeing how ratings do for the Bachelorette going forward. And like you said, they are taking up 2 time slots in the fall, but are people just want more Bachelor in Paradise? Will maybe they do more seasons of that going forward and kind of get away from the actual, Bachelor, Bachelorette, same formula, same show, season upon season, or maybe stretch it out a little bit more and just, not give us as much. I don't know. It'll be interesting because quite frankly, Charity was I was in love with my Bachelor last season. I was who was her Bachelor? I can't even remember. I had to look it up. I was oh my God, yes, Zach. I forgot.
Zach.
It just seems maybe people are getting a little bored of the same thing, and maybe the Bachelor Golden Seniors will kind of reinvigorate the franchise. I have no idea.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't decide how I feel because I do think the podcast going is only a bad sign for the franchise. But then when you think about those double time slots, I know we got a writer's strike going on and this is unscripted television that they can just produce, but it's interesting. So I think we got to keep an eye on this one and see what happens. But speaking of this season, to kind of transition into a little bit, I caught up with JoJo and Jordan recently, and they did spend some quality time with Charity. They filmed a cameo on her season, which we will see later this year, obviously, but I had to ask them about it. And here is our Golden Bachelor couple, JoJo and Jordan. I may or may not have seen like a blurry video of you guys potentially filming something with a new Bachelorette who's coming around. Can you maybe address that?
Yeah.
That was super fun. Yes, we do have a little mini cameo with Charity on this season of The Bachelorette. First time meeting her. I think she's so wonderful, so cute, so beautiful, so smart. The group of guys that we got to meet, there's a few. I think she's gonna have a little bit of a hard time. I'll tell you that.
It was I kept going, this is a really good group of guys. Like I was vibing with them. You know,
Yeah.
we're done filming. I'm kind of chatting. I'm like, I like these
bromance,
guys.
I think, with one of them on the date.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think that she has a really good group. From what I know, her top couple guys, I think she was really torn between. But there was a lot left to go. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
That is amazing. And obviously everyone's going to be watching the Big D, but I have to ask you, are you going to watch The Golden Bachelor?
Oh my God.
I think that is the best thing that they've done. Like I was so excited when I heard that.
Yes. When does that air?
The fall.
Okay.
The fall,
yeah.
I am excited for that. And I will be watching that. Do we know who's hosting that yet?
Not yet. Ben Higgins wants the gig. It's all I know.
I saw that. Yeah, I was curious if they had made a decision on it. That's going to be really, really good.
They're my favorite, hands down.
No, they're so cute. And I'm glad that they, took the call. It was interesting. We saw JoJo briefly on this episode. We saw Des. So JoJo and Des are, I think, besides Trista, are only bachelorettes still with their significant other. So that made sense why they were called. And then Caitlin Bristow and Ali Fedotowsky are classics. So it makes sense.
I love Caitlin. Here's your favorite washed up bachelorette. I love that. Very funny. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's recap. Before we hear from Charity, let's recap our season 20 premiere. Obviously, it's the big night one, the big introductions. Was there anybody that really stood out for you this go around?
Honestly, what stood out to me was they were pretty cute, very tall group of dudes. None of their like limo entrances really wowed me. It was kind of like a lot of repetitive stuff, a lot of like, okay, we're on The Bachelor. But Charity, kind of like I mentioned, did stand out to me because even with like Spencer, who made me so uncomfortable with his like eye contact and his nerves, I thought she handled that so lovely. And I was like, I don't know if I would have been as nice to Spencer.
Oh, I don't think so either. No, she handled herself beautifully. But yeah, it seemed like they kind of got away from like the real gimmicks, the real over the top entrances this season, which is kind of refreshing because I don't think we necessarily need that all the time. Some of them were clever. We had, Chris, the world record jumper, Brayden bringing in the shots, the tennis pro. We had some good guys, but and John
B, who kicked us off. I feel like sometimes there's stats that say like the first one out of the limo goes a far way, and he did like the coin toss. I liked him. He clearly thought he was going to get that first impression rose.
Right.
And Brayden was really the star.
Yes, Brayden was the star of the show. He's a travel nurse. He brought in, the shots. And he got the first impression rose. Were you a little surprised by him? Because, after he had the kiss, he was kind of gloating about it and being like, I got it. And, we got this moment together. I'm so excited. I couldn't tell if he was just being arrogant or if he was just really giddy.
I think it was both. And I think what was interesting about Brayden is you could tell she liked him right away. There was a few guys that it was like the classic, and maybe that's just what they show us, as we always say, but they did keep in, when they walk away, she's a little giddy about it. She's excited to talk to them. And she had that with Brayden from the beginning. And I had the opposite. I don't know if it was like the Aladdin reference or I don't know, but he was like giving me the ick, and Charity was all in. So I don't think there was anything her brother could have said that was going to stop her. And good for her to some degree, because your gut, I think, is important to this. And if you start listening or avoiding your gut on night one, it's probably not going to end well for you. But I also liked Xavier. I know she kissed him. He had like the ukulele or whatever. Yeah, I liked James, whose mom wrote the letter. I don't know if that was a real letter, but that was sweet.
That was sweet. Who else did I like?
What'd you think of the brother, the gag?
I liked having the brother there. I thought it was kind of like a fun little switch up. I mean, the disguise was awful. Like you couldn't do anything better with that. Yeah. But I kind of like that. I kind of like the undercover brother aspect of it, kind of giving her like the inside information, could fly on the wall. Like you said, she didn't really take what he had to say to heart about Brayden, but I did like that. I like that they kind of switched it up a little bit and gave us something a little bit more exciting.
I thought that was a good effort. I kind of was expecting more from it.
Yes.
I think her brother's sweet. And I think, again, it made Charity, not that I wasn't excited about her, but I think this episode did highlight her in a great way, which they don't always do with their leads. And whether from the intro package on and seeing her with her brother, it only made me like happier for her and rooting for her. And that totally worked. And I think her connection with her brother is really cool. If I was the brother, I just would have been like so much shadier with the questions I was asking and poking and prodding. And I almost wish like he would go interrupt her more often to be like, oh, like I'm here to get Charity. Like she asked for a drink and then pull her aside, like almost lean into it even more, because it's like the idea of a spy or an undercover brother is a fun concept. Once you get past the dumb, like we have a surprise for you, since we already knew that, which of course the show does. But I think he was really sweet. And I think part of me is like good for her for still giving it to Brayden, because that's based on the trailer not going to end well, but what her gut was telling her.
Yes, like he has villain written all over him, and this is not going to end well. But she wasn't really like a kissing bandit throughout this whole thing too. She only kissed a couple people. I think it was, what was it? Kissed Joe, Brayden, and Xavier, maybe a couple more, but she wasn't like making out with everybody the first night. So, it seems like she's going in, wants to find love, here for the right reasons. So we'll see which guys are as well. And who was the other one? Was it Joey, the tennis pro? It seemed like she had a good connection with him as well.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked the Hawaii flower.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very cute. Well, I know that you recently caught up with Charity as well, right?
I did. And of course, I asked 75 questions about Brayden, because he really was, besides Charity, kind of the star of the show. I don't know how many the other guys really stood out to me. Like we mentioned Aaron a little bit, and I brought him up. But I think Brayden was the night one centerfold. So here's what she had to say about him getting that first impression rose.
From the first episode to get into, the premiere, Brayden got a lot of screen time, gets the first impression rose. Who else was in the running? Because I know Aaron B was a little disappointed. He thought he had a shot.
Yeah, Aaron B was like truly ego was bruised, but that's all right. I think if it wasn't Brayden, I definitely had my eye on Warwick. I know his like limo entrance was like ideal. I was like, oh my goodness, like I love like the little one-way ticket to his hometown. I thought that was so cute. And he was someone that really like captivated my attention. Obviously Aaron B had a really great conversation, as well as Xavier. So any of those it could have went to, but ultimately I decided to give the first impression rose to Brayden.
And how much of your brother's intel, one, affected how you felt about Brayden, but any of the guys, was there anything he said we didn't see where you were like, all right, I either changed my mind and I might give that guy a second chance, or, oh, I was totally off?
Me and my brother, obviously super close, and having him there night one was so helpful. He clearly got to see a lot that I did not. But I think, he really did remind me in that moment, like our conversation, obviously it's not all shown, but he did just like reassure me that like all the guys and most of the guys were truly there for me, and they were really excited about me being the Bachelorette and this opportunity for them to really get to know me. So that made me feel good in the moment, despite like coming off of like, oh, like Brayden was really vocal around the house with the guys about the kiss and everything. So I kind of took that almost like a two-way street. Like, okay, Brayden is really excited, and it could be crossing the line of like confident versus cocky, but also him kind of falling back on like all the guys are also just like really excited to be here. Like I was kind of considering that factor too, of maybe that's why Brayden was just so vocal, because he was just so excited. Right. We see in my conversation of me asking him, why were you so vocal, or what's going on? It just was his excitement overall. So yeah.
Did seeing it change anything, or do you still feel like he was just a giddy kid, so excited he got to kiss the Bachelorette and kiss Charity?
Yeah, I think in that episode for sure. Like, I think it's just, that's Brayden's personality, just someone who's very like animated and just fun and lively for sure.
We see in the trailer there might be some more issues there. So is it safe to say he's one to watch?
Oh, he's one to keep your eye on.
I like it. I like her. I think she's going to be a great Bachelorette. But yeah, maybe not the best first choice, but well, she didn't know that going into it.
We might break that whole trend of the Bachelorette ending up with their first impression rose winner with this one.
I think so, based on the trailer. All right. Well, checking in with our social spotlight of the week, and wanted to shout out Charity because she's already rubbing elbows with the stars. She posted this photo of herself with Kevin and bonus Jonas Frankie, saying beyond stoked to be sharing Monday nights with Kevin and Frankie, celebrating their new upcoming season of Claim to Fame. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind hanging out with the Jonas Brothers as well, and being the new Bachelorette. Sounds like fun.
I know, and Charity seems to have a really great attitude. I mean, this is going to be interesting to see what the ratings are if people kind of hop on board. We know that the Bachelorette overall doesn't always perform like the Bachelor, and even when people are like, I'm over the Bachelor, we saw that uptick at the end of Zach's season, both in our own personal Us Weekly traffic, in the ratings. Like, people did get invested because it was such a messy ending, lest we not forget what are Gabby and Ariel up to. Who knows? And Zach and Katie still going strong, apparently. So that's exciting. But yeah, I think it's fun to watch. Claim to Fame, not sponsored, kind of a fun show. Also,
Good, I have to check it out.
I don't hate it.
I'm gonna have to look. And it doesn't seem like, based on the trailer so far, it seems like the drama is that she falls in love with two guys this season. But
Right.
we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens. If this is your standard Bachelor picks, breaks up with the guy at the end and gets engaged. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully she finds her happy ending.
Yeah, she definitely made it clear. You can hear my full interview with her that she does fall in love with more than one person. And she's like, that's just what happens. And I was like, okay, girl. And also the taking back the rose that's teased in the trailer.
Yes, I did like that. I like
Yeah.
that. She was very sassy about that. I can take it back if I want to. Well, yes,
Yeah.
you can.
You really can.
You really can. You're the Bachelorette. You can do what you want. All right. Well, that is it for week 1 of season 2020 of The Bachelorette, which is insane. Definitely let us know in the comments what you thought. If Brayden was the right choice, who do you think is making it to the end? I mean, Sarah, we have to do our prediction. Who do you think is going to win?
Aaron B.
Aaron B. Okay. I'm going Aaron, or maybe Xavier.
Okay.
Feeling about him. We'll have to
I
wait.
love it. I love a way too early guess. They'll probably be eliminated next week.
Totally. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Here for the Right Reasons. Like we said, keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.